Okay, we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another virtual dental shadowing session. Today, we're joined by Michelle, who is a D1 dental student at Columbia University School of Dentistry. Thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Michelle, and I'm a D1 first-year dental student at Columbia. And I hope that this will be an enriching presentation for you, and you will all enjoy it. Okay, so what is my story? So as a child, like what got me into dentistry? So as a child, I was just always excited to go to the dentist while my brother would be like dreading the moment. I would just always be the one like, let's go, I can't wait. And then I just started, like, as I was getting older, I started forming a relationship with my dentist. And I just started considering dentistry as a possible future career. So then I was like, oh, like, can I shadow you one summer? So this was like still in high school. And I really enjoyed that experience. And then when I also got braces, like, I just loved the community that was at my orthodontist office, and just how everything went and like how everything ran. It was such a great experience that I had as a patient, and then eventually as an intern at his office. And that really like confirmed that dentistry is the path for me, like the relationships you form with your patients, with other members of your team. It's just a very nice environment. And at the same time, I've been into the arts since I was like a very little girl. And while shadowing, I just saw so many parallels between dentistry and art. And that just further confirmed my decision. And so then I went on to pursue a visual art major during my time in undergrad. And now I'm in dental school. So a little bit, okay. Okay, yeah, a little bit more about myself that I didn't mention earlier. So I went to Macaulay Honors at Brooklyn College. And like I said, I did a visual art major. So that whole stigma of having to major in a science to get into dental school, that's just not real. You can do whatever you want. This is your time in undergrad. Do what you enjoy. And honestly, I think that's what made me stand out as an applicant. The fact that I wasn't a chemistry major or like a bio major. It's because I had my art background and I was truly passionate about what I was doing. Oh, it like skipped. Okay, what I was doing, and that just made great talking points during my interview. So yeah, I went to Macaulay Honors at Brooklyn College, and some things that made me a competitive applicant. Okay, yeah, we can talk about that. So I did study very hard in undergrad. So I did have a pretty high competitive GPA. And then I also made sure that to get a really high DAT score, because I knew that the schools that I wanted to apply to and get into did require pretty competitive scores. But besides for the numbers do not define you. You have to be a well-rounded applicant. And like I said before, I think it was my artistic background that made me stand out. And also, I know, like, I'm sure you're a medical school, dental school, just pre-health advisors, they always tell you like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this, volunteer, research, intern, whatever. You have to do all of these things and make it like into a really long checklist that you have to do to get into dental school or medical, like any professional school. So I knew that I had to do those requirements, but I didn't want to make it look on my application that I was just going off of a checklist and like, oh, I did this because I have to get into dental school. No, I combined all of that stuff, all of those requirements with my passions. So, for example, for you have to have like leadership roles. So I really enjoyed my time in my Predental society. So I was really involved in our club and like attended many events, and then was eventually elected to be president. And then Project Sunshine. So this was a club where we would go to like a Brooklyn hospital and do arts and crafts with children who unfortunately spend most of their days like getting treatment. So again, like combining my art and giving back to the community. And I did eventually get elected as secretary, so I did that. And then I always had this like weird liking to go to the Natural History Museum in Manhattan. And when I found out they had a butterfly exhibit, I was like, and I visited it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to do this. So I volunteered there and I was just teaching visitors about like butterflies. That was a really like weird, I guess, like and funny moment in my life. Just like I knew like a random fact about butterflies. Don't ask me any butterfly facts right now because I kind of went out the door. um, I did clinical research at SUNY Downstate Medical Center. And again, I didn't do research just to like cross it out of like checklists again. Even though research is not required for dentistry, it does for dental school, it does like I think boost your application, especially if you're applying to a school that is research heavy. Like in Columbia was my top choice for dental school. So I knew like I wanted to have some research in. So I did research in ENT to see how like tonsils and enlarged tonsils and adenoids, how they affect child performance in school. And then when I was shadowing different dentists, I never knew this before, but there's a specialty in dentistry called sleep apnea dentistry. So again, like my research and my shadowing like overlap, like I combine my two passions. And then I played tennis. So I joined my school's tennis team. Like I was really involved. And then peer mentoring. I was just helping freshmen, college students like navigate their first year in undergrad, and also being a dental assistant and patient care coordinator at a dental office. And this was a job position that I held. So I did do volunteering and internship at dental offices because that is required for dental school. But then eventually, after I got those hours, I got a job as a dental assistant and patient care coordinator. And again, it's not only about the hours of dental shadowing that you do, it's the quality of those hours. Like you want to be able to talk about them when you're being interviewed. So make sure you have some like, or maybe like keep a note of like eventful things that happened that day in the office, and they could be talking points for your interviews. Struggles that I encountered and how did I overcome them? So we're not all perfect, and like obviously I'm not perfect, but I was just like always like very particular with like my study methods in school, and I've always been like a note taker and just did everything I could like to get the good grades and the competitive grades and everything. But biochemistry, that like destroyed all of my like I don't even know what, it just destroyed me a little bit because of how hard it came to me. And I just did so bad on my first exam. I was like, I've never got such a low score. Like I barely passed, like literally barely passed. Like 65 is passing. I don't know, like I barely passed. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like I was just like so distraught. But I have a really good group of friends who are very supportive, and like my family was super supportive. And they were like, no, Michelle, like it's okay. Like you'll get through this. Just study like better, smarter, harder, whatever it is you do, just do it. Like you've done it before. And so like I devoted myself to this class, and I just went to all the office hours, spoke to my professor, asked so many questions. Like pretty sure by the end of the semester, like my teacher was annoyed with me because of how many questions I was just asking. But like I knew like I can't, like I want to get to a good dental school. I knew that there were like so many things at stake. So I was like, I'm not just gonna like lift my hands and be like, oh, I can't do it. No, I worked hard, and thankfully it paid off. And I ended up like scoring like so much higher on my second exam, like above average. So this just showed to me that if you really put in the effort and try your best, like you will succeed. And yeah, like don't let one grade define you. You can always find ways to improve. And even like if you don't like have the highest scores or like GPA, like your first 2 years in undergrad, there's always like you can always improve, and dental schools appreciate that. They want to see that, like they don't want to see just perfect student, they want to see improvement. So don't look at like poor initial results as something bad. Like look at the positive things. Just work harder, smarter, and you'll get it. You'll get it. Okay. Advice on volunteer and extracurricular. So like I said earlier, I would just emphasize participate in extracurricular activities that you really enjoy doing. because again, you can talk about them, you can talk about your passions. Everyone was talking about their passions. And so look at some examples that I gave. Like in high school, I would go to a soup kitchen every Friday, and I would provide food and serve food to those that are like that don't really have a meal to provide for their families. And then when I knew that I was committed to dentistry, I was like, oh, like, let me see, are there organizations that do the same in terms of like providing dental care? So I found Give Kids a Smile. So I started working with them and attending those events. And then when I was president of the Predental society at my college, I like actually like made it into a club event and got my entire club to go and volunteer, which was a really good moment, fun time. Also, while I was shadowing for a dentist, like I said, there's so many parallels between dentistry and art. And so, especially ceramics, like there's so much involved that so many things overlap. So I was like, oh, like, let me join the ceramics club in my school. So like, this is like a tooth sculpture that I made. I made like a bunch of these for my future dental office. Oh, there's one right there too. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so just do things that you enjoy. Like undergrad is kind of like the last time before dental school where you can pursue like passions outside of dentistry. So therefore take full advantage of it. As long as you take your prereqs to apply to dental schools, your major does not matter. Like I have students in my class who were like pursuing finance. Someone was a ballerina. Like we come from all different aspects of life. So do what you enjoy in undergrad. Don't think that you must be a bio major or chem major. Okay, asking for a letter of recommendation. So it is very important to like develop deep, meaningful connections with your professor so they can write you a letter of rec and have stuff to write about you besides for like, oh, she was a student in my class who got this grade, take her. Like, no, like you want your teacher, your professor to have something to say about you besides your score in the class. So therefore, really try to get to know your professors. I had this issue actually where like, I didn't know if a professor remembered me or not because I took general bio my freshman year, and this is already like my junior, senior year that I'm applying. So I was like, oh, like, do they even remember me? So I just like sent them an email and reintroduced myself, sent them my CV, and they were like super nice about it. They were like, yes, of course, like I remember you. Some of them even like asked me like if they didn't remember me. They sent me like a little outline of like, oh, like just tell me a little bit more about yourself. So like some professors will do that. But yeah, I found it best that when you ask the professor in person for a letter of rec, that's when it works the best way. And also I also made sure to give them a very long, why is this moving? A long time span between the due date of the letter of rec. Like I was applying when in like July or something, or I forgot already. I told them that I would be applying in May. So I had my letter of rec from them in like 2 months earlier. So I would recommend that because they are pretty busy. So you want to give them all the time they need. Okay, why is this like, it's like stuck. Okay, let's just go from here. Okay, choosing dental schools. So Columbia has been my number one choice of dental school ever since I decided I wanted to do dentistry because I am from New York City. Like I wanted to stay here. Like I love the city life. And also just the name kind of speaks for itself. And then the reputation it has in terms of the professors that work there, like they're like renowned faculty. And the specialization rate is just amazing. So I knew I wanted to specialize eventually. So that was something that I looked for when applying to dental schools. And Columbia just like fit that perfectly. But if you do not have a top school and you're just trying to figure out like where should I apply or like what should I look for, I would recommend to look at their curriculum. If the school is pass fail, that's something that you want. There's only like a handful of schools that are pass fail. Does the school have any research requirements? Like some schools make sure, like they say you have to complete a research project to graduate. If research is something you're interested, then that may be a school for you. Specialty match rate, the class culture, like is it super competitive or like people work together? The class size, that's a really big one, and location. So, and like if I wanted to stay in the city, pretty much like I would like and stay local because I'm from Brooklyn, So NYU and Columbia were kind of like my only like realistic choices of like where I would actually go. And like NYU has a class size of like 300 something, and my Columbia has a class of like 80 something, like 84, I think. So I didn't want to get lost in that like bubble. So like I wanted a smaller class size, but not too small. Because there is like a school called Stony Brook out in Long Island. They have a class size of like 40. There, I feel like you're like under a microscope and everyone's watching you. But like I also wanted to make connections with like my peers, and dentistry, it's all about like referrals. So you really want to network. So I didn't want to have a class size that's too big where I get lost and like I don't know my professors. But I also don't want it too small. So I thought like a class size of 80 was pretty ideal for me. And I know that some people would say like to look at the tuition and the cost of attendance in terms of making a decision. I have like a little different approach on that. I would say not to look at that because all dental schools are just super expensive. And I know money does not grow on trees. I know that. But like when you're talking about that, like in the thousands of dollars tuition, like a $1,000 difference, like at that point, doesn't really make that big of a difference. And also like this is your time. Like these 4 years, like they're gonna be hard and you want to be at a place that you're gonna enjoy. So I wouldn't have tuition be a determining factor of where you should go. Like you want to find a place that will be right for you, where you'll be able to get the education and like the proper education, and also enjoy your time there. Like these are your 4 years. Enjoy them. And then if time rewinds, what advice would I tell my younger self? I would tell myself to stop stressing all the time and to go out a little more, because stress is just overrated. Everything will fall into place. Everything, I'm a strong believer of that everything happens for a reason, for the best reason. And yeah, like no need to stress. Just do your work and everything will work out just fine. And then I guess like I can just say something about like Columbia as a school in general. We are like one of the few dental schools that incorporates a medical school curriculum. So in our first year and a half, we're not in the dental school really, we're in the medical school. So we're learning all the medical school curriculum, but we also get additional like preclinic time. So I know like NYU and some other schools, they start preclinic right away. Like as soon as they enter the first day, they're in preclinic. We started preclinic only this past semester, so my spring semester, first year. So fall semester did not touch a handpiece. What is a handpiece at that point? We just learned the dental anatomy of teeth and like tooth structures, which honestly, like I find that was a very like a beneficial course in terms of first learning dental anatomy and now like actually practicing it and seeing it all and visualizing it all in person and actually getting to develop those hand skills. And yeah, so the first year and a half we're in the medical school, and then the rest of the time you're in the dental school doing your rotations and getting that education. And then we also do follow a block schedule where like for a month it's just strictly learning material, and then after that month is up, it's a week of exams. So you have that time slot, like there's no other classes, just exams. And at first I was very intimidated by that, because I was just like always used to like, oh, like have like a little bit of material, take a test, a little bit of material, take a test. But here it's just like a full, pretty much like all of biochemistry on one exam, all of genetics one exam, and that was just pretty intimidating to me. But at the same time, we are pass fail, so that took a little bit of the stress away. And I actually ended up really enjoying that system, because we do have weekly quizzes that they're weekly quizzes, but we get to like look at those questions and review those questions like in class, and then at the end of the week we like submit it as like an actual quiz. So that also kept me on time and on target with all the material. I didn't feel like I was falling behind because of those weekly quizzes. And then just taking that full week for exams really helped like solidify all the material and not stress that, oh, I'm focusing on this one exam right now. therefore I'm falling behind in like my histology course because I have biochemistry exam coming up. So that's what we have there. Yeah, yeah. We said the pass fail curriculum, and that's pretty much it for that.
Thank you for your presentation. And I have a question for you. So you only applied to the dental school near your area, right? You didn't apply to other dental school.
So I was like, just me as a person, I'm a little like, I have like I have confidence in myself, but maybe like not to the right standard. So I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get in anywhere. So I did apply to other places, and I did end up spending like a lot of money on applications. Even I applied to schools that I knew I would never go to, but I was just scared I was not gonna get into dental school. I did not really want to take a gap year. Even though like there's nothing wrong with taking gap year. If anything, it's encouraged to take a gap year. So I did apply to schools outside of New York City.
And then you say that you have like block before a week of exam. So you actually have no time to study. Like there is no time slot for you to study. So you have to study every week, and then for that week you just go to the exam, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And that's stressful.
It's I don't know, I find it pretty good because of those quizzes.
Mhm.
Like you have to stay on top of it. Like there's you can't be like falling behind. I don't know, like in undergrad, like I guess you can get away with it. Like, oh, I'll just cram for this exam. But here it's just like so much information. It's like pretty much like all of your biochem course that you take in one semester, which is I don't know how many months, like 4 months, 5 months. It's like in a week, not even
Wow.
dental school. So you have to keep on top of it. You can't fall behind, and those quizzes really help you stay on track, and they kind of make you focus in on like what should be studied and like what the professors are trying to emphasize. And then that week, that week you just take those exams.
Mhm. Okay, and we have also other questions from the viewers. I think you kind of mentioned it, but we can expand on it a little bit more. What are you most proud of about your dental school?
What am I most proud of? I would honestly say that the admissions committee does an amazing job with choosing students for our class. Like everyone is so nice, so unique and special in their own way, and they contribute something to the class, and like everyone just like works so well together. And I think that a lot of people say that like Columbia just does a really good job with choosing their class, and just the environment that we have there. Maybe it is because of our pass fail, it's a little more chillax and everyone's more collaborative, and they really encourage for us to collaborate. Um, and yeah, so I guess that's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing because I have heard from other interviewers that they say because they don't have like pass or fail score, so they're kind of sabotaging behind the back, like try to get better ahead than their classmates. So I think that could be a good thing.
Yeah, no, everyone really like we have exams coming up, people send out their notes, everyone's just super like wanting to help each other. At the end of the day, like we're going to be healthcare providers. Like
Uh-huh.
want to have like everyone wants to have the knowledge they need to help people. We're not It's not just a grade at this point. Like this is the knowledge that you need to be a good doctor, dentist. So
hmm
that's the mentality.
That's true. And I think you answered this question. So, what is a common mistake when applying to dental school?
Common mistake. Um, Maybe it's not like when you're applying, but the preparation, like out your planning out like what you want to do in undergrad, that may be like incorrect. Like that whole idea of like having to like be I have to be a biochemistry major. Like no, you don't. You do what you
hmm
want. Like be yourself. And being yourself does go a long way. It really shines through, especially during your interviews. Like these people who are interviewed, they've interviewed so many people. They know like when an application just doesn't like just seems fishy and like very forced, and that you're not really passionate about like what you're saying to them. So just be yourself. And if any, I know it's like a thing that um like pre-health advisors tell you, oh, like you don't look like you're qualified to apply to this school. Like, no, don't listen to them. Work hard, improve whatever area you have to, like whether it be your DAT score, or like if your GPA was not good, like you can take a master's program, like improve at there. Like show, like highlight the good. Don't focus on the bad. Highlight the good. Yeah.
But would you say it's advisable to maybe mention about your bad and then tell them how you change that? Or would you say that you just forget about the bad and focus on the good?
Oh, so like if like I know, is there anything you want us to know that maybe not is not mentioned in your application? So like if you did have a rough start in the beginning of undergrad, let's say, you can mention like, oh, like I had this going on, I wasn't able to keep up with this. Like it doesn't even have to be for like a traumatic reason, like or
Hmm.
a stressful reason. You can just be like, oh, like I was transitioning from high school to undergrad, like I didn't expect this big change. It was just a whiplash in my face, you know. But I got together, I knew what I had to do to improve, and look at this, like I went up, like I improved. So yeah, I guess you should maybe explain the bad, but in terms of in the moment, don't focus on the bad. Like, I got a B in Orgo, like I can't apply. No, just do better. Take your other science courses, do better.
Okay. And how do you handle your plan? How do you handle and plan your workload?
So I guess another really good thing about Columbia is that all of our lectures are recorded. So attendance is not really mandatory. And those recordings are my best friends times 1.5 speed, take all the notes that I have to. And I really just go at my own pace. And also, I feel like it's not, because there's so much material, it's not about like it's more about the breadth of knowledge that you acquire. So I think that's something that I learned, because like in undergrad, I feel like you focus on like such nitty-gritty details because and you go so much slower. But here it's like so fast, and also you have a lot of details. But again, it's just get the general gist of things, and you will succeed. Um, and so that really helps me plan out my schedule, balancing the social and like school life, um, the recordings. Also, Anki, like I was never I was talking about that earlier, but I was never into like flashcards. I was always a note taker. I'm a very visual person when it comes to note taking, but I've realized that it's just too much to be taking notes on everything in dental school. So Anki became my new best friend. Like I do these flashcards, and they've been really helpful. And you can like do them on my phone because I actually commute to school. I don't live by my school. I commute on the train. So those train rides are perfect for just doing those flashcards and memorizing information. So yeah.
So what Michelle is saying is there is an app called Anki, and you can download. I think Anki is one of the most used app for medical and dental students, and I think that's a good advice because I also use it.
Yeah.
So so basically from Monday to Friday you study every day, and then on the weekends what do you do?
So in the weekends, I will also study during the majority of the day. But at nighttime, when my brain is already fried, I do go out with my friends, and I not like the weekend before exams. That I'm just like study zone, like in
Uh-huh.
my element. But throughout like the block, when I don't have exams coming up, I do go out. Like
Uh-huh.
you have to. Like you can't just be studying all the time. Like, oh, and also I actually also I tutor. Like I tutor little kids, two little
Mm.
boys. So I do make time for that. So it's definitely manageable. Like dental school, I wouldn't say that it's harder in terms of material. It's not harder in terms of material. And I remember when I was talking to dental students and they would tell me that, I'd be like, I don't know what you're saying. But it's not harder material. It's just a lot of material. And knowing what to focus on, that's all that matters. Just you get the gist of it. Like you
Mm-hmm.
get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see. It must be like pretty, I mean, it must be pretty busy for you because you have tutor and everything, but you still are able to handle it. So, I mean, it's about time management most of the time.
For sure. 100% time management.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to students who didn't make it into dental school? Maybe this cycle, last cycle.
So I would like maybe like reevaluate your application, look where your weaknesses were, and see how you can improve. Um, Sometimes it's your DAT. Go and retake your DAT. Um, I'm a really big fan of uh, Orgoman products, the DAT Destroyer. That's what I used to study for the DAT. Um, so if your DAT is something you have to improve on, go with that. Um, if it's your GPA, you can't really do much about that because you're already like done with undergrad. So maybe do a master's program and improve in terms of that. Um, and if it's you don't have enough extracurriculars, go and shadow, go and volunteer, do research, like just do everything to maximize your don't go like the minimalistic approach. Just go and put yourself out there, do everything that I guess is required to get into dental school, but also make it match up with your interests. Don't just do it, just do it.
Uh-huh.
Make it worth your time.
Hmm. And then I think you got in your first cycle, right?
Yes, yes.
That's
Thankfully, I
nice.
got in. Yes, thankfully it was that was an emotional roller coaster.
That's nice. That's nice. And what has been the most rewarding experience of your life? I mean, dental school life, or maybe transitioning from university to dental school.
Rewarding. I guess it's the same thing. Like I have to say to my friends, like, you need that support system. It's not only my friends that I made in dental school, it's also like my undergrad friends. Like they're all there for me. Like I obviously don't go out as much as I used to, but the fact that they still invite me and like are there for me and like just text me like, hey, like how are you doing? Like that really keeps me going and like makes me really appreciative of the people that I have in my life. But also your dental school friends are going to be your best friends. You will be studying together. Um, and you never know like who has access to what notes or like upperclassmen become friends with upperclassmen. They tell you the goods, they give you the goods. They tell you what to focus on and like what to expect from this professor, from that professor. Oh, and actually Columbia, they actually have a whole program with like a big and little system. So they pair you up with an upperclassman. Um, so I always like hit up my big and I ask her like so many questions with like research. Like she helps me with like finding a research opportunity. She's helping me with that. And then they also like organize presentations of what to expect from this class, from that class. Um, so Columbia really does a good job with making sure that we feel very supported and that we get we get all the resources that we need.
Uh-huh. I guess like nice that you guys have a big and little the system, the thing. And but for me, I know I understand how upperclassmen can help you so much. I mean, just today I was helped by upperclassmen, so that's a good advice.
Yeah,
And what are some disappointments that you faced in dental school?
disappointments in dental school. Okay, so I guess because I come from like an artistic background and like I did ceramics, I thought I would go into clinic and be the next Michelangelo, like making the best tooth preps ever, you know? I was so wrong, like so wrong. It's so much harder than it looks and definitely takes practice. Only like this is maybe like it's already February, so like my second month into being in preclinic. I would say that my class ones are getting better. I can't even say that they're perfect, but they're getting better. And we just started class twos, and that's just another whole like turmoil. Like, oh, I have to get better again. Like, it's hard. It's hard. So don't be hard on yourself when it comes to preclinic. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy it. Yeah.
It's true because it seems easy on the presentation about the class preparation, but when you do it, the teeth are so small and you're sitting so straight and so far away from the mouth. It's really hard to doing those precision preparation.
Yeah, it's so misleading. When they showed us the video, I was like, oh, I got this. I do not got
That's exactly my reaction when I first, and then I just, oh man, I thought I was the worst on hand skill,
oh
but you
yeah, it
have to
was
practice. You have to practice.
yeah.
And what was your personal statement structure, and what did you include that you think might have attract dental school's attention?
So my personal statement, it was about like a lot of people say like, oh, when I was a little girl, little boy, like I knew I wanted to be a dentist. So I didn't go that pathway. Instead, I went the pathway of like the transformative, like personal transformative experience that I had with
Hmm.
my orthodontist and how he really inspired me. And because I'm the oldest one in my family, I'm kind of like the guinea pig for everything. And braces was one of those things. And so I just was so nervous about getting braces and like about all the social ramifications that come with like wearing train tracks on your
Yeah.
teeth. Um, so just how he guided me and like that soothing, like I still remember that moment, like how he like soothed me, all my fears, like said, you'll be okay, like don't worry. Um, and so then so that whole experience was really good for me, but then also my brother, like a few years later, he was going through the same thing, like sitting in that same chair, like about to get his braces in, and he was also like freaking out. And rather than my orthodontist explaining it to him, like I took on that role and I started like calming him down. And in a sense, like he's kind of like my first like patient, I guess. um and even like my orthodontist, he like overheard me. He's like, "Oh wow, like look at you, like 100. You did a whole 180." And from there, actually, we started talking. He was like, "Oh, like why don't you just like come and intern here and like see if like this is actually a thing dentistry's for you?" And so I talked about that in my personal statement, how like he saw it in me that maybe this is the field for me. And so I made it from like my personal experience with my orthodontist to how I became like the leading voice for my brother, and how I went from orthodontistry to seeing what other dentists do and other specialists and the general dentist, and how these like years of experience of being in the dental field and shadowing really confirmed my decision to pursue dentistry, and like all of the little bits of tricks that I've picked up from like the dentists that I've shadowed, how like I want to incorporate this into my future practice and with healing and helping patients. So I made it into a story rather than saying I want to go to dental school for this reason. I made it a story.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good advice for you to say that like try not to say when I was a boy, when I was a girl, I wanted to help people. Like I think those are kind of cliche, and
Very, very, very.
dental school probably read like those lines a lot of times. So try to make it into a more interesting story. That's
Yes, 100%.
mm, so. How and what would you recommend pre-dental student to start doing and preparing now?
Um, like as a freshman, like
As a freshman, sure, or any, I
yeah.
mean, any grade in university.
So, as a freshman, I kind of just well, I came in knowing that I wanted to be an art major. So I planned out like what courses I would be taking for the next 4 years and when I wanted to take the DAT. So I knew I wanted to take the DAT after I took Orgo 2, so that that would all be just fresh in my head. So I took Gen Chem, Bio, and Orgo before I took my DAT. And actually, I even had some biochem. I already took biochem also before I took my DAT. So I guess like planning out your classes and where it stands in terms of taking the DAT and applying to dental school. I think that really helped me and like made sure I was on track and not falling behind, because it gets very overwhelming. Like colleges will tell you have to take X amount of classes in this study, like in your liberal, because like a lot of schools are liberal arts. So just not try not to get lost in all those requirements that you need not only for dental school but also to graduate your school. So planning out the courses that you'll be taking is a good first step as a freshman trying to apply to dental school, and planning out when you'll take your DET and apply.
Hmm. And I think I missed that. So which year did you take your DAT?
Yeah, so I took it the summer I took it the summer between junior and senior year. And I already had my, because I took it in the summer, I already had my personal statement and my application ready. I
Oh.
just needed to submit my DAT at that point.
Hmm.
And also this was COVID time, so it was just like my DAT kept getting canceled, and it was
Oh.
just a thing of itself a mess. But yeah, I made sure to have all of the other aspects of my application ready because I was taking my DAT so close to like the beginning of the cycle. And I wanted to be an early applicant because not sure, but I think a lot of dental schools are like rolling in terms of who they interview. I'm not sure. But I knew I wanted to be an early applicant.
Early
Make
applicant will be a huge advantage, I think, because they start reviewing um your application process earlier. So they'll
Yeah,
see you
and
earlier.
getting those interviews earlier is
Yeah,
really
yeah. And so a lot of applicants have good grades, experiences, extracurricular activities like you. So what was your uniqueness that you think might have set you apart from them?
well at that point. I mean, if you're talking like in terms of the interviews, I think at that point it's your personality that
Yeah.
sets you apart. But for them to like first open your application in the first place, um, maybe it's like your personal statement, I guess.
Okay.
Not sure because like I'm not sure what they do to like how do they like open up your application? Because
Hmm.
like they get so many applications. Like how do they like do they really go through all of them? I don't know. Maybe it's the scores, and then they look further and seeing how well rounded you are. I'm honestly not sure how they do
Hmm.
that.
Well, I have heard like from different interviewers, they say sometimes they look at the grade first, sometimes they look at the personal statement. So I'm not
Mm,
exactly sure, but I think it depends.
yeah.
And we have a few more questions.
Hmm?
What is the hardest thing about dental school?
The hardest thing. Um, I guess it's like not getting discouraged because of
Hmm.
course you're not always going to succeed, and also you're going to have friends who finish undergrad and now they're working throughout like Monday to Friday, and then the weekends they're out and about because they don't have any other like requirements, so they'll be going out and you'll be like, no, I have school, I can't go out.
Hmm.
So just understanding those sacrifices that you will have to be making and knowing this is all short term, and in the long run this will all pay off and you will have your so much fun after
Degree
this is
and
all over. Yes.
and how do you get graded during preclinic?
So we have these things called I forgot the name of them, but they like you're practicing all the time and you submit your work and then the doctors review it and everything. But then we have these things where that actually is to see if you like pass a type of class. I never had one yet, so I can't really talk much about it. But I forget it. I don't know. Do you know what they're called? Like
Mm,
where you have to do a class two and then they evaluate it. Like this is the final class two that you're submitting.
mm. I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I forgot what it's called right now, but you're practicing every time you go into like preclinic, not just during those preclinic hours. You can also like go in extra to practice. But then there is one tooth that like you have to prepare, and like they monitor you and like you submit it and this is like your grade.
Hmm.
But again, I never had this yet because we just started preclinic like last month, so
Hmm.
I can't really speak much about it.
Okay. And
But I
what
can
else?
add this that with like Columbia's preclinic, it's actually in the clinic. So it's exactly where you will be seeing patients in your third
Mm,
and fourth year. So we can come in after the patients are gone, obviously. So clinic hours are tend to be late a little bit. Um, and everything is like with a sensor on it and has a camera. So they can really track
oh, wow.
every little thing that you do and give you personal feedback. And it's like the craziest thing ever. So it's very personalized instruction that they can offer to help
Wh-
you.
Where did you say they put like cameras to see
Yeah, there's like
details?
cameras everywhere and
What?
sensors. Like I will pick up a handpiece and it will know like the speed that like the doctors, they will know how fast I was going, how many times I picked it up and put it back down. Like they can monitor everything.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
insane. How do they do that? And where's it? Where are the cameras placed?
Well, there's like one camera, like, because we have like our own little cabinet, like it's our own
Uh-huh.
little office. There's like a camera, and they can just see everything and see like all your movements, and Yeah, they can really monitor. Yeah, they
So,
monitor everything.
what? Are you able
Yeah.
to like chat with your friends during the
Oh
preclinic?
yeah, no, it's not for like, oh, I'm trying to
Oh,
invade your privacy. No, it's just for the purpose of providing feedback
uh-huh.
and like when you're seeing patients, like for them to be like, oh, like you could do this better, that better. It's just very personalized care.
Do they also look very strictly on your ergonomic?
Um, I can't really speak much about that because I haven't
Oh yeah.
it just started
Uh-huh.
Preclinic, so like they're very lenient on us right now. They just kind of want
Uh-huh.
us to get accustomed to holding
Uh-huh.
um a handpiece. Yeah.
Okay. And I think we have the last two to three questions. So what brand of loops do you recommend?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram page and I just made a whole post about
Uh-huh.
that, about Lumadent. And so their loops have ergo prisms inside of them. So it's like I'm literally like no need to like move my neck at all because I'll be looking straight at you, but I can see like what's happening underneath. So I do recommend Lumadent loops. I got the 3.3 magnification, and I was actually speaking to the salesperson, and she was telling me like, oh, like, do you know what specialty you might be considering? And like, I was like, I'm honestly not sure, but like possibly orthodontics. So she was like, okay, then I think 3.3 will probably be good for you. So yeah, Lumadent is very good because literally no straining at all, and like they forces you like to sit up straight because
Uh-huh.
like the second you like bend, the vision gets blurry and you don't see the proper thing. Like you have to sit in that straight
Mhm.
position.
Okay. And oh, what was it like to lead a predental club and how did you nominate for this position?
So it was a very fun experience because I got to work with like my amazing other members. Um, and also I started off as a secretary for the club, and I was just very involved and with helping the president and vice president. And then they were graduating, and then I guess like club members like saw my commitment, and then we had elections, and thankfully I was nominated. Um, and it was just really fun time for me. It wasn't like a stressful thing. Like it was something I enjoyed doing. Like I organized events where we would there was this after school program that was affiliated with my undergrad, and these children they actually came from orphanages. So I organized an event for the dental club to like pack these little goodie bags, and then go to those children and like show them how to brush their teeth and like the very basic stuff. And we gave them those goodie bags. Um, yeah, it was just a fun time. Like, it wasn't, yeah, nothing stressful.
How many people are in your club, in your predental club?
So we have like approximately like at the time it was like 10, 15 active members.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So non-active members mean like sometimes they join, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, like sometimes they came, sometimes they didn't. Like when I would say that there's food, everyone came.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But um there were a few that were committed to the club and came to every event.
And how many activities do you guys do per week with the club?
I wouldn't it was more of like a monthly basis where we would have like
Monthly basis.
meetings and talk about things. Like we had schools, like guest speakers, we toured schools. Like
Uh-huh.
it varied. And also like my last year of undergrad was also when like COVID happened. So like we did a lot of virtual events, like stuff like this. Like I had dental school students speak to us. It was very similar to these types of events.
Okay. And we have the last question. Could you explain a bit about sleep apnea dentistry?
Sure. So this doctor, she created these devices, oral devices. So they move, it's kind of like passive orthodontic treatment. So you would wear this thing at night and it moved your lower jaw forward, which allowed for you to have like an opened airway and allowed for like it helped with the whole sleep apnea situation. And it's incredibly it's not as effective as the CPAP device, but the CPAP device is just such nuisance because it makes so much noise and like you're attached to this thing and then you like toss and turn. It's just annoying. So this device, it's literally just like a simple oral device, looks like a retainer, and it just slightly moves your lower jaw forward and helps you with your airway.
Airway.
And then in the morning, like patients have to wear it like for like literally a minute. They just have to like kind of like put in this other device where they just which is accustomed to the regular like closure to like on a regular day, like how they normally hold their mouth, like so they just put that in for like a minute or something and they just sit on it to like have that jaw realignment come back to normal. And that's it. It's very effective, but again, not as effective as a CPAP machine, because CPAP, it's like pressured air like going in,
Mhm.
versus this is like just moving your lower jaw forward.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all we have for today, and it was a very fun session, I'll say. And for the viewers, the quiz will be up and it will be expired within 24 hours, so make sure to do them. And that's it.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.